geography, science and tech, environment and current affairs. So try analyzing it, each topic specifically, and then go for it. So when it comes to mains, this was my third attempt. So when the first two attempts I couldn't clear the prelims, I made sure I make ready for mains. So that's how I started practicing. The first attempt, when I did not clear the prelims, I sat down and I started preparing for the. My name is Shruti. I'm from Tamil Nadu and I'm this year's All India rank 18. So in this video, I'll share my prelims, mains as well as the interview strategy. So let's begin with the prelims. Before that, I'll try to address some of the questions that I get repeatedly. The first one would be the school and the college going students ask me, when should you start preparation for the UPSC? I think the right time would be after completing the graduation. So let's get into it and I'll share my prelims, mains and the interview strategy. For the prelims, this was my third attempt and this was the this was my first time that I get qualified in the prelims. So what I did differently for this attempt was focusing on the PYQs. When I say focusing on the PYQs, I meant even in the last two attempts, I did see the PYQs. But then in this attempt, what I did different was I started analyzing the PYQ completely. So for each question, I would see what was the question explaining and all the four options. Then I would take notes of it. So for this, I used a YouTube channel called the Counter Coaching Crusade, from where he used to explain each question. So I used to see his questions and I used to jot it down and then I wrote. And for the test series, what I did this time was I did not rely too much on test series. I used the open free test series from the All India Civil Service Coaching Center. There is a YouTube channel. From that, they used to give free test. So I just took only. So when you're giving test series, one thing that you should focus more when you're giving a full length test is, out of 100 questions, you must see how much questions you have attended, might be 70 or 80. Then after that, try checking the accuracy. Out of 80 questions, how many questions have you done right and how much have you done wrong? This everyone used to do. And then go one step further. So try analyzing it subject wise. So you see how many polity questions were there, how much you attended and how much was wrong. So same way for each subject: polity, economics, history, geography, science and tech, environment and current affairs. So try analyzing it, each topic specifically, and then go for it. So when you do this, what will happen is, once when the question is wrong, you can identify whether the static part is missing. So once you think there might be that the concept you are missing, or it can be a current affairs part. Once if it is a current affairs part, then we can revise it. Or if you think the concept itself is lacking, or you're lacking in a specific subjects, then you should revise it more. So that's what I did for this prelims. And regarding the current affairs, I read newspaper. I relied on the newspaper, The Hindu. So I used to read it daily. And then for a magazine, I went for a yearly magazine. The Mudit Jain sir, he gave there was a free yearly compilation. So I used to read it in the month of December, January. So then I took notes of it. That's what I did for prelims. So, and for the CSAT, I just did only the PYQs. When doing the PYQs, I took last 10 years of PYQs and I kept on revising it. While revising the PYQs, you can identify some patterns. So when you feel maths is very difficult, but they used to have patterns or repetitive topics. So I used to see them. So in this, Ambedkar sir, he has a YouTube channel where he will identify the patterns. So I used to see them, and then from there I used to take notes. So newspaper. And the one important strategy that I followed was the 4 R's. So read, recall, revise and repeat. I used to read a topic, and at the end of the day, I used to make sure that I revise. And recalling, active recalling is very important in my case. So every time I read a topic, I make sure that after completing the topic, I used to recall it. I used to close my eyes and think like what all topics have I done. So that I used to do. So that helped me a lot. And in the end of the day, I used to revise it. So revision is very important in case of prelims, that too, because we study many topics, many static parts. So for that, it is very, very important to revise. So at the end of the day, I'll revise, and the next day I'll start with revision. So this was the thing that I followed for the prelims. And when it comes to mains, this was my third attempt. So when the first two attempts I couldn't clear the prelims, I made sure I make ready for mains. So that's how I started practicing. The first attempt, when I did not clear the prelims, I sat down and I started preparing for the mains, for the optional as well as for the GS. And for the optional, I used to spend half a day, and for the GS, the rest of the day. And doing GS, I used to take notes from the topo copies, and I used to make my own notes, and I rigorously did answer writing. I used to write 2 to 3 answers every day. So that may help me a lot in my third attempt when it was my first mains. So I had done some answer writing, and I have also made some notes, so that helped me a lot. And for the optional, coming to the optional, sociology was my optional. I did my background, my educational background was ECE engineering. So from engineering background, I did not have an ECE optional. Triple E was an alternative, but I did not know about Triple E. So what I thought was I'll go for some other optional. So I started seeing anthropology, sociology, geography. And then I came down to sociology. I chose it after looking into the syllabus. I found the syllabus to be very interesting. So I would suggest, if you're right now choosing an optional, so I would suggest that choose an optional which you find it very interesting, and which you think you can read it for long, because you'll need a graduation level of understanding of an optional. So sociology, I found it interesting. The syllabus was very good. So then I took sociology. This will help you on answer writing. Once if you have interest in the optional that you take, it will reflect in your answer writing, where your answers will look very, you'll have that personal touch that will help you in achieving the marks. For this year, sociology 287. So this was possible. So for the strategy for optional that I followed was, I did coaching, and then after doing coaching, I was not able to understand sociological concepts. So then I started from the scratch. So I referred to the IGNO notes, the Indira Gandhi Open University. So from that I started the thinkers topics. So I took that book, and then I had a topper copy, his notes that I used, Tushar Anshu. So his notes I referred, and then my class notes, IGNO, and his notes. So I just combined everything and made a notes of my own. So that I used to revise again and again before writing an answer. So this was the strategy that I used for optional. And also I tried integrating current affairs too much in the optional. So I used to read newspaper. If some topic or some keyword comes sociological in the newspaper, I made sure that when the topic comes in the question, I used to use them. So let's say there comes a concept called family. The question is about family. So from the newspaper, I read a topic called DINK, dual income, no kids. So what I used to do in answer writing, I used to incorporate those things. So it helped me a lot, where the answer had current affairs orientation also. So I'll now break down each main subject. So first would be the essay. So I did not prepare essay in beforehand. Only after this prelims, I started preparing for the essay. So in essay, what I did was, I just sticking to the basics. My English was not that flowery, but I just made sure that whatever was written, they'll be able to understand. So I kept the language very simple. I focused on the brainstorming part. So you'll choose one essay topic out of 4. So I took an topic, then I started brainstorming it. So after brainstorming, then I used to write the answers. There I had some list of books and authors that I used in writing the essays. So that helped me a lot. And when it comes to GS4, let's talk about ethics then, because I try to play a hierarchy when it comes to mains. So I prioritized optional, and then essay and ethics more, and then GS2, GS1, and then GS3. It helped me a lot because the prior ones were a bit much scoring than compared to GS3, GS1. So this was the strategy that I used. So GS4 ethics, what I did was, I took one standard book. So I used the Forum Red book. From that I understood the concepts. Then I subdivided it into 7 topics, the ethics side topics. And then I took the syllabus. Then I took the PYQs. And then I made my own notes. In the notes for ethics, what I did different was, including ethical keywords. So ethic keywords, I had a separate paper where I used to jot down ethical keywords, and then I used to revise them repeatedly and made sure when I write answers I used to incorporate them. So that helped me a lot. Then I also used to draw diagram. So in mains, my one day would be, in the morning I would wake up early in the morning around 5:30. Then from morning till afternoon I made sure I prepared for the optional, and after afternoon I made sure I prepared for the mains. So that's how the day goes. And then from topper copies and topper notes, I used to pick those keywords and the notes that that I used to write. So that helped me a bit. So, and in Telegram channel there was UPSC and Beyond channel, so they had free topper notes that were available for each subject. So what I used to do, I used to open the PDF, and then whichever keywords or topics that I find it very good, so I used to jot it down in my notes. It helped me a lot. So after GS4, GS1, 2 and 3, for all these three, what I did was I took the PYQs and then I took the syllabus. So in syllabus and PYQ, I matched whichever topic they have asked it very frequently. I made sure I had notes of it. So I only had minimum notes that helped me in writing this mains and qualifying it. So this is what I used for the mains. And then when it comes to the interview, so DAF becomes very important. So I prepared the DAF very rigorously, and then you need to be confident while answering the questions. That helped me. For answer writing, how to start, many people ask me. So I would suggest start answer writing once you start preparing for the mains. Don't wait till you complete your whole preparation of mains and then start answer writing. That would be counterproductive. Once you complete a topic, try doing answer writing. It will help you a lot. And also the presentation, try to focus. If you are preparing early, not on handwriting, I would suggest that make your answers more presentable. That would bring more marks. So that will help you a lot. This is over, so I'll go back. I'll now go to the questions that people are asking. I'll try to answer them. So what changes you did after giving your first attempt? What's your mistakes? And also after second attempt, you got a good rank. What you follow in your study? Okay, so in my first attempt, I was a beginner. So after giving, doing my foundational course, I just urged and gave that attempt. And second attempt, I had some health issues. And in the third attempt, the main focus of me was more focusing on the PYQs. That helped a lot because you should know what to read and what not to read. That you will get only when you start reading or analyzing the PYQs. You might have a 300-page book for internal security, but when you start seeing the PYQs, only 5 topics might be important. So the time management and reading, which is important, everything PYQ will give. How important is budget and economic survey for prelims? So for prelims, a budget and economy survey, where like important schemes, important initiatives that the government have taken, questions might come from that. When it comes to mains with budget and economic survey, it can help you in enriching the answers. So when the economic survey states something, that might be very important. Which pen you used? I used a V7. I had a very big font, so I used to use a broader pen. So that used 3 classes, 1 optional and 2 revision का time मिलेगा. इसकी solution ma'am. Okay. So even if you have 3 classes now, after completing your classes, make sure you take some time to revise it, because you have already attended the classes. So already you had one or 2 hours of exposure of the class. So after completing the class, take a 10 or 20 minutes just to skim through whatever has been taken. Revision in the sense, not you start studying everything because you have very less time. So you can just skim through the topics and try to revise it in that. So a strategy for 2027. So if you are not giving this attempt and going for 2027, I would suggest start now and try to think of an optional that you find it suitable for your yourself. So think of optional and start doing mains. So till November, try doing mains the topics that are not integrated, like internal security, disaster management, etc. And then after November, try doing subjects which are getting integrated, so polity, economics, such subject you do. And then after December, try focusing on prelims. So in prelims, after you complete a topic, so let's say in polity you did president, so then just take the PYQs and then try to answer the questions. If you are able to answer, well and good. If you are not, then try revising your copies again. For history, new NCERT versus old, which should we prefer, ma'am? So for history, the ancient and the medieval, I preferred old NCERT, but it is a bit bulky. But then you can read any one, NCERT new or old. It's just that you need to know the concept very well, the topics, the king, the dynasty, and etc. So that would be very good, ma'am. बिगिनर वाले के राइटिंग कैसे प्रिपरेशन करना? सो फॉर बिगिनर्स व्हाट वुड आई सजेस्ट इज, आफ्टर कंप्लीटिंग वन टॉपिक, लेट इट बी एनी टॉपिक इन पॉलिटी और इकोनॉमिक्स, try doing writing one question from that topic, because you've already read the topic, you might have some idea about what to write. So then write an answer and then check it with the another copy or the key that they're giving, then compare it. Or else after writing an answer, try to brainstorm after completing it within 10 or 12 minutes, maybe because of a beginner. Then you start to think what is wrong or what might be made better in that answer. Then you try doing brainstorming more, so that will help you being a beginner. And when a beginner, I think you'll take some time, extra time. For a 7-minute question, you'll take 10 or 15 minutes time, but then you should try to make sure you try to write within 7 minutes. So people start to think that they need to write a very good answer, so they take more and more time for one single answer. But in an exam hall, the 3 hours you'll get only 20, you'll questions to write, and it is very obvious that in the question paper you'll know only around 10 to 15 questions very well. So other than that, the 5 questions you should write on an average answer, so you should be ready to write that. Okay, this is live section. Yeah, I have already talked about the answer writing, how to start for the first time. Suggest a 14-month broad plan, how to make mains notes and when to start answer writing. So when it comes to the mains note, I've already said, take the PYQs, take the syllabus, and then match it both. So then you start taking your notes, because once we start taking notes for every word in the syllabus, it will become very bulky. So make sure that you integrate PYQs so your notes can be cut short. What should we avoid during our UPSC journey? I think you should prioritize health very well, because it is very important. Because this exam you're going to give it for 1 whole year. You should sleep well, you should eat properly, and your mental health is very, very important. Try not to isolate yourself when preparing. When the time that you wanted to study, try to study focused, and then the rest of the time try to have a hobby, do it regularly, have a mindset, so that you can sustain in this preparation for very long. Thinkers and sociology, more thinkers, more mark. Tip for sociology answer writing. So in the case of sociology optional, I don't think that thinkers means more mark. It just means that even if you know thinkers, only when the question requires, you need to write a thinker. Because people who are evaluating, they are better, they are scholars who publishes, and they are sociology professors, so they know very well. You shouldn't go and dump thinkers in the question. Only when the question requires, you try writing a thinker. Or even if you find thinkers are very difficult for you to memorize, even if you write the concept, that will do. So let's say an example of social capital. So you don't know who said it, then the social capital word alone will suffice in the answers. And tips for sociology answer writing, I would say that be strong in the basics. So in paper 1, chapter 4 of thinkers will be the basis, and for paper 2, the chapter A1, where you'll read about the Indian thinkers, that will be your basics. So try to be strong in the basics. And when you write an answer, let's say you are going to write an answer about dowry. So let's say you put some dimensions. First would be an economic dimension of dowry. Why is dowry happening? Second would be and gender dimension, where you would say that women are considered as a liability, so there is dowry. So then let's say about a social dimension, where you say because of societal pressure dowry is happening. Then you will take a law perspective, where gift are acceptable but they take it as a dowry. So all these type of dimensions you can say. So my tips for sociology answers would be, try seeing the PYQs. In case of optional, PYQs are way more important, because 70 to 80% of the questions repeat in the PYQs. So do focus on the PYQs. Then while writing answer, make sure your answers have the sociological keywords. So GS1, GS2, GS3, every subject is going to have its own keywords. So let's say for economics, polity, for polity you'll have constitutional morality. So that will be your keyword. For each subject there is going to be a keyword. IR, geopolitical strategy. So such words if you use, the answer will look very subject related instead of having a generic answer. So for sociology case, you need to write very subject related keywords, like social effervescence, social cohesion. Such words need to be answered. Ma'am, please. What about NCRTs? So NCRTs, if you are being a beginner, NCRTs will help you a lot in exposing to the different subjects that you are going to study. So I studied only the 11th and 12th NCRTs. I understood it.